All right, happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of Grace and Gossip. I, of course, am your host, Christal XO, and it is all me solo for Grace and Gossip Mondays. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. I had a pretty good weekend, no complaints. No complaints my way. No complaints. I think that I am ready for spring, ready for summer, actually, ready for summer to be here completely because Atlanta's pollen and temperatures are like, it's cold one day, it's warm the next, it's all over the place. So I am definitely ready. Definitely ready for summer. I'm ready to be past spring because Atlanta spring can go back and forth. It's a little bit bipolar sometimes. So I'm ready for us to take it to the next level. But I hope you all had a great weekend. If you are checking in, let me know where you are chatting from. No, Haitian Empress, Mo is not here tonight. Mo is only here on Wednesdays and Fridays. You just have to deal with me by myself on Mondays for Grace and Gossip. But Mo will be back. And remind me, Haitian Empress, I know you're just the person to do this. Remind me to let Mo know that his crush, Gayle King, had the shortest trip in space ever. They did all this. You guys know that they did all this talk about, you are hilarious. They did all this conversation about these people going to space. It was Jeff Bezos' ex and Katy Perry and Gayle King. And I was like, what? Is they going to space? What is Gayle going to space for? Well, Gayle went to space and I did not know that you could go to space and come back that quickly. I have surmised that this was all a PR stunt, but I definitely want to give Mo a hard time about that. So please remind me to ask him about his sugar mama going to space for 0.6 seconds. Like, I don't even know how they got up there that fast and got back. But in any case, Gayle has safely returned. But today is all about Grace and Gossip. And you guys know that I like to have conversations that are, we don't want to get messy. We like to keep things cute. But today, after seeing yesterday's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, I'm going to say I just want to call BS. I'm going to call BS. And if some people don't like that, that's just fine. I love you too, girl. And you are hilarious. We love you being a part of the XO family. So thank you so much, Haitian Empress, for tuning in. But I just want to call BS. And so I want you guys to let me know if you agree with me when it comes to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I said tonight, like, the Real Housewives of Atlanta is in a very strange predicament right now. As you guys know, I write for Collider. I get a chance to really do a lot of reality TV writing for Collider. And of course, I also am editor-in-chief for Lennox and Parker, which gives me, it feeds my more acquired, sophisticated taste. But Collider lets me get a little bit down and dirty sometimes. But this week, on last night's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, I was even more irritated by this, it's not necessarily a beef at this point, because Kenya Moore is no longer on the show. She has been removed, and Britt Eady is there trying to plead her case, and I guess trying to make the other ladies take her side in the debacle. Last week, I told you guys that I feel like, in my humble opinion, this was not Kenya's fault. The entire event that happened at the Kenya Moore Hair Care salon grand opening. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with Kenya. Let me say, first of all, I don't agree with what she did. But I do want to say there are two sides to a story, and I don't feel like The Real Housewives of Atlanta or Bravo and the production company that shoots that show was fair in the way they ruled between the two ladies. So, as you guys know, or if you don't know, if you haven't been following this story, Britt Eady is one of the new ladies. There are three completely new women that showed up as principal characters for the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Britt Eady, Kelly Farrell, her bestie, and Angela Oakley. And of course, because of the culture of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and just the Real Housewife culture, period, the new ladies felt like, specifically the younger ones, what's up, D Glove? Specifically the younger ones. Hey, Druzy. Hey, Rocky. I agree. Two things can be true at the same time. Kenya was wrong. And we're going to get into why I feel hard to feel, why it's hard for me to feel sorry for Britt tonight. So tonight, Rocky, we're going to get into all of that tonight. I have some information to share that I just want you guys to give me your feedback on tonight's conversation. So yes, and I just saw that it was a drive-through space mission with Gayle King. Okay, let me stay focused. Let me stay focused on Real Housewives. So Britt had it out for Kenya. I feel like Kelly had it out for Portia. And I feel like these women joined the show, the principal cast, thinking, I've got to stake my mark and, create a buzz for myself by making fun of, or at least going at these OGs on the show. Portia and Kenya, probably the strongest OGs on the show at that point. Shamia was a friend of the show, so she was not she's not, where's the juice? That's hilarious. She wasn't like a threat because they don't see her as like the competition. They see Portia and Kenya. Beautiful, definitely have a huge fan base. Both of those ladies are well loved. Cynthia is a friend of the show this season, so she's not really a competition point either. So I feel like Kelly came in, she automatically was shooting at Portia. Britt came in, automatically was shooting at Kenya. And then Angela kind of played it easy. And I think that's why she doesn't really have a lot of kickback right now. Shamia kind of made fun of her and they kind of went back and forth, but it's not, there's no bite to that beef, right? So anyway, Kenya asked Britt about her ring. Britt took offense. But for those people that live in Atlanta, they know Britt has been, a girl that's been trying to get on for a while. When I say get on, I mean on television, for a while. Kelly probably as well. I don't really know as much about Kelly's background, but Britt, I did a little bit of research. Actually, it just can't all this stuff is coming out because of this situation with Kenya. So she came at Kenya again. They were having a dinner, Angela Oakley's dinner, and Britt challenged Kenya. Kenya paid her dust, did not respond. Britt got angry, got very angry, and she did what I'm going to call one of these like Nicki Minaj character changes, like, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or as Nicki Minaj refers to herself when she turns into Roman, like she turned into Roman, right, at the table. And she's like, she starts yelling, and you guys are going to see a clip where she turned into Roman last night. She turned into Roman when she was trying to start an argument with Angela Oakley. And I'm talking about Britt. Britt, I think she feels that her alter ego is Nicki Minaj, because she goes into this personality that really doesn't make any sense. So she got really upset with Kenya, flipped, and Kenya's just looking at her. So then she says, well, can you get along cordial? And Kenya says, I can be cordial with everyone. Yes, but can you be cordial with me? And so Kenya, kind of pays her dust again, to which Britt gets angry and starts really like being very boisterous. And then she ends up saying that she always carries a pistol. Now, if you live in Atlanta, and you've lived here since prior to the COVID, pandemic, then you know that Atlanta's gun violence has risen. I would say, to me, it seems like over 100%, because before COVID, there was, crime was growing a little bit. I got here in the early 2000s, very little crime, very little gun violence. Like you could go to a lot of events, everybody would have a good time. There would be no murder her, there was some occasional violence from BMF, I will admit, but not a lot. Like, and it wasn't like, unless you were trying to be out doing that. But I mean, since the pandemic, there's been a lot of violence. So in my opinion, to mention that you have a gun, and I said this last week, you are in the 4th episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and you're going to mention that you have a gun for Kenya? Like, what? I mean, you're not going to make it through the whole season if you threatening people with a gun on episode 4. So she did that. And Kenya responded by blowing up pictures of her being an indecent, in an indecent intimate exchange. What we heard was an oral intimate exchange. Blew those pictures up and posted them. Now, and so of course Bravo responded because people were upset, and they actually suspended Kenya. She got suspended for doing that, because you're not supposed to do that. I don't know if it's slut shaming, I don't know what it is, but it was not. If it's corn, we don't say the word. I don't know what it is, but it was said to be, outside of the parameters of the contract. But I'm just so confused as to why threatening someone with a gun was not. Now, Andy Cohen said last night on Watch What Happens Live that they did check to see if Britt did have a gun, and she did not. But to me, the threat should have been taken equally seriously, because if they checked her stuff and she didn't have it, that doesn't mean that, the fact that you would bring that into conversation, to me, means you don't really belong on this show, or there should have at least been some type of disciplinary action. Now, I want to just show you guys several things. First of all, we're going to start out slow. Okay. We're going to start easy. We're 12 minutes in and we'll start easy. So first of all, I saw a headline today that said Britt and her husband, Mike, I believe, are gunning to become the it couple of the show. The it couple right there is Britt and her husband, Mike. And I think that they believe that they're going to be the bee's knees, the bee's knees this season as a couple. I will say I would give the couple of the season to Shamia and her husband, just because they seem to be the most stable. And if you're talking in terms of like what the housewives seems to prioritize and to worship, then they definitely would have that more than everybody else, right? So they have the Sterling Hall, which is the very expensive $9 million, not just very expensive, but $9 million home. That is quite beyond. I don't even know if that qualifies. That doesn't even qualify as expensive. That's just like, that's a whole nother level. So I would think they would be the couple that would be the most, the it couple, because, this money is not, we don't have to question it. We know what her husband does. They've been married for a number of years. They have children. They're working on more children. There's no question about it. When they have scenes, it doesn't feel weird. It doesn't feel awkward like it does with Britt and her husband. He seems to not really know what to say to her, almost as if they're just like playing a role. I don't necessarily believe it, but hey, I don't have any tea. Well, I don't have any tea I can share on that, but it just doesn't feel realistic to me. And you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that relationship feels real? Does that feel like a husband and wife that are serious? Does it feel like anyone that is wanting more than just being like the it couple on a reality show? Just that picture. What the hell is happening? Just my opinion. I could be, you guys let me know what you think. So moving forward from that situation, last night's episode, Kenya's not on the show, but Britt, Muad'Dib, girl, you know what? I didn't want to say anything, but I'm just going to sit this right here and I'm just going to play this here. Yeah. And if you know, you know. So if you are a viewer of the show and you've been here, then you will know, you will get that kiki. But in any case, I want to play this little scene that happened last night, and I want you guys to pay attention because, like I said, Britt is going to turn into Roman. That is what she does when she's trying to get some attention. I think this is her way of trying to stay on the show. But this is after the aftermath of Kenya's grand opening. Kenya's not there. Portia calls out. Portia calls out sick. I think Portia is at this point trying to lay low and make sure that, to see what's going to happen right before she, picks sides. Drew is there in a horrible frock. And Angela's there. And Britt comes now. Britt comes, this is a sympathy brunch that Kelly is throwing for Britt. It is a sympathy brunch, and I want you to pay attention to how Britt shows up, and what the conversation is like. And I think you're going to see the exact moment when she has her Nicki Minaj takeover and she becomes Roman.
She mentioned to me yesterday that she lost her insurance license.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Based on
really?
what?
Right. What do you mean based off of what? Are you confused? What's been going on?
They said she could fit
Wait a minute. What do you mean based off of what?
Where's that energy coming from with me? I'm licensed as well. In order to lose a license, there has to be cause. What was the cause? That's the question I asked. Britt, to be honest, this same energy.
Today is for me.
How? It's always been for you.
How?
This energy,
What's the energy?
This is a peace offering. You're not coming in peace. I just asked you a question of how did you, on what cause? And you just ate me up.
I'll wait till you're done.
You just ate me up. And you failed to take responsibility for how we even got here.
But why? Read the room.
Why?
Read the room.
Why is she not here?
Read the room.
These ladies don't really have my back outside of my girl Kelly. They have been speaking to Kenya. They have been having her back. How do you guys expect me to feel?
Read the mother.
I'm reading the room.
Read the room. Girl, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? And how are you going to say read the room? So it's ridiculously exaggerating. So she came on and said that she supposedly has an insurance license. And I would love if we have anyone that does insurance, if you could, let us know what you think about this. But she claims that because of the pictures that were blown up, that her insurance license was threatened. Actually, at first she said that she lost it. Then when Angela questioned her, she said it was under review. And then later, when she was talking with Andy, she said that it was fine. But I just want to suggest a few things. First of all, she presents as someone that is always naked, right? So nakedness. I just want to put that out, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to sell insurance like that, that's fine. Specifically in Atlanta, that probably works. But this particular scene, she's saying that because of that picture that allegedly happened years ago, that was something that happened years ago, her insurance license had been taken or was being threatened and was under review. That doesn't make any sense at all. I also want to suggest that there are a few other things. Now, according to Portia made a statement that the pictures that Kenya had of Britt were from when she was underage. Now, if that is the case, I still don't think that would be Kenya's fault, because Britt was doing things. In this next clip I'm going to show you guys, she acknowledges that she was modeling in men's magazines when she was in high school. So that is public record. It's public record. So if you were doing Black men's magazines and doing video vixen work in high school, that's a whole problem. Like that's not my problem that those pictures are on are out, you know, on Instagram. So I want to play this clip. There's a couple of clips we're gonna watch. So just settle in, XO family, because this is the type of behavior that I really just, it irritates me to my soul. And I just feel like when we're watching these shows, first of all, these women, they feign that they've been hurt or injured to get sympathy, to try to make their storylines more impactful. And it irritates me. And I feel like they are trying our intelligence. And if there's one thing I don't appreciate is when my intelligence is tried, especially by someone that I don't think can do that, right? So in this clip, first of all, Britt comes to the table and she says that Dennis at one time asked her out. And she's kind of bragging about it. And you're guys going to see what she has to say. And then I love the fact that Dennis clapped back in the comments. But in this clip, she mentions that she was modeling for Black men's magazines. And I'm not talking about Essence. We're talking about Black men's magazines of a sexual nature when she was in high school. Now, who lets their daughter do that? I do not know. We did meet her mother last night on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I don't know if her mother knew she was, I don't know. You know, I'm not trying to get into that. But what I am saying is it's inappropriate. But it also does, it is relevant to the situation because you're trying to accuse Kenya of basically showing, you know, indecent photos of someone who's underage. But if that person, when they were underage, were already doing indecent photos, then I am not the villain. Perhaps their guardian was at the time. Let's watch this clip.
I went on one date with Dennis. Back in the day, he came on the date, brought me a diamond necklace as a gift on the date.
Is that the one you're wearing?
No, absolutely not. I don't think he can afford this.
Did you show him your titties?
He didn't see no tatas on the date because he didn't know me and he came bearing gifts.
So you were definitely that girl back in the day. Like
I was a little video vixen back in high school. High school did video? High school girl.
No, you did not.
I was in Black Men's Magazine, all the magazines back then. Yeah. In high school.
Whoa. So yeah. First of all, did you guys peep Dennis's comments? Over in the comments,
I went on one date with Dennis. Back in the day, he came on the date, brought me a diamond necklace as
she's corny. She's corny. This is the highlight of her season. She's telling this is years ago, allegedly years ago, that is happening. So that is wild to me that she's bragging, and the fact that she doesn't even see that there's something wrong with that. She's literally bragging like this makes her, you know, this puts her in a great light. The fact that she was modeling for Black men's magazines and she was a whole video vixen in high school. That's a lot. That's a lot of mileage up until this point. And then she said that Dennis didn't see the tatas on the date. I doubt that because we've never seen Britt and not seen her breasts. Like every single outfit that she wears shows her breasts. So I'm certain if she was dating Dennis while she was modeling in Black men's magazines, he probably didn't have to do much but show up to see the tatas, right? So I mean, I'm just saying, you guys let me know if I'm wrong. This is ridiculous to me. And I did not say that it was okay for Kenya to exploit this woman. But I don't think that's what happened. I do not think that's what happened. I think Kenya found something that was online and Britt started the situation by threatening her with a gun. I mean, if someone threatens me with a gun, I think kind of everything is off the table at that time. I feel like the reason that the show made those moves was because of the response of the other women. And like I said last week, I'm sure the other women were thinking, you know what? If I have something out there, I don't want that brought to the table. I'm not saying Kenya was right, but I'm saying that Britt was also wrong. And I feel like she is the reason that this entire situation has happened. I don't agree with Kenya, but I do think that Britt should be held accountable, and she's not, and she's lying, and she's trying to make it look like, just this whole idea of, oh, my insurance license was being threatened. Are you kidding me? No, it was not. No, it was not. And if it was threatened, there could be other reasons that it could have been threatened, not because of what Kenya brought out. And if other people on the show, someone gave it to Kenya, right? So there's other people that know these magazines. I think that definitely the network could have been sued. But if I think it's weird that we don't look at mentions of a gun as serious as someone showing someone in a naked situation. Like a gun, that is ridiculous. And when you think of the fact that people have fans, like each of these women have fans, right? All of them, even the new ones have fans. And if someone suggests bringing a gun, you never know that whole bringing that energy to the conversation on television, it could cause a fan to do something really crazy. People get death threats all the time. So just her mentioning that type of violence and saying she always carries a gun with her and she got it for Kenya, like that, to me, that should not have been, that should have been taken a lot more seriously. And Andy Cohen did say last night that they did check her, right? They did check her to see if she had the gun. But my point is the conversation on a national network is equally as dangerous because you do have people's fans that will get a bug up their behind and go do something crazy. So a threat with a gun is something that you do take seriously and that you should not say on television. Now, anything that I'm saying is not anything different because Britt has acknowledged she was wrong. She acknowledged it last night on Watch What Happens Live. She acknowledged it to the other women. And if you guys watched that show last night, Andy kept saying, what did Kenya do that made you that angry? Like, what was it? What did Kenya do that made you come after her? And she kept saying that Kenya she was triggered by something that Kenya did. But if you guys watch that clip, right, that I just played a minute ago, was she also triggered by Angela? She was also, Angela just said, on what grounds was your license revoked? And she went off. Read the room. Girl, like, what is that about? And I just think it's BS. I think it's hypocrisy on Bravo's part. And I'm not saying, like I said, I would definitely not championing Kenya's actions, but I do say that you have to look at the fact that this woman came after her, threatened her, and then when she responded, because Kenya's always going to go deeper, and she takes things a bit far. She goes a bit far, and she did. But I just think that what Britt did was equally bad. That's my point in this. And then I'm also proving that a lot of the things that she's claiming were so horrible, she created. Her bringing up the fact that she was modeling, doing men's magazines when she's in high school. She introduced that. We would not even know that. I don't remember who was in those men's magazines back then. She brought that up. She brought that up and is bragging about it. And because she did that, we did find another clip of her with Stevie J. For those of you who may not know who Stevie J is, and I'm sure that you guys do, because Stevie J had a second coming. He was an amazing producer, part of the Hitmen that were signed to Bad Boy years ago. Lots of songs under his belt that came from Bad Boy Camp. And outside of that, I mean, he's an amazing producer. But he was on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta about 15 years ago and constantly went viral for his foolishness, his foolish behavior. Foolish, just one of the biggest misogynists and just chauvinists. Horrible behavior, but behavior that a lot of women signed up for because they wanted to, I guess, be famous. I'm not sure exactly what they felt like Stevie was offering them. As Jocelyn would say, that he was offering beefcake. But here is a clip of Britt with Stevie J, who at the time is promising her television fame to be on a show called Penthouse Pets. Penthouse Pets. Now, this is back in the early 2000s, Stevie J and Britt.
Doing the first reality television show, and it's called Penthouse Pets. You know what I'm saying? We're finding the next Penthouse Pets, 8 of them, 8 cities. 8 mansions. You know what I'm saying? 20 to 30 ladies each.
Now I'm gonna have my whip.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's the one.
What was the title you came up with?
The sexy curator. So I'm the pet wrangler.
Yes.
Okay, so to me, that just lets me know a little bit more about our girl, Britt. Britt is trying to create what she thinks. She called herself the sexy curator, right? That was the name she came up for herself. Came up for her role in the Penthouse Pets. This was years and years ago, like I said, in the early 2000s, obviously before there were so many reality television shows on. She was working with Stevie J and going to be on a show called Penthouse Pets. Again, I am not saying that that Kenya was right, but what I am saying is that we're not going to hold Kenya accountable for making Britt into something that she was not. And Britt is the one that was bragging about posing for men's magazines and doing all this stuff. I'm not, she's definitely. If you saw, I said like she has the Roman personality. You guys see that come out? I'm gonna get my whip again. Like she just wants to be on television, and here's her opportunity. And so I think she's doing everything that she possibly can to make sure that she's able to stay on television, whether it makes sense or not. Definitely there's no class to it, but for her to say that Dennis didn't see her titties when they went on a date, for her to say any of these things is ridiculous. I don't think, I will say this the last time, I'm not saying Kenya was right, but what I am saying is that Britt was 100% wrong. And I'm also saying that we're going to see more of this type of behavior because this is just Britt. This is Britt. I don't know if she's concerned about the insurance license, knowing about the Penthouse Pets footage. I don't know if she is concerned about any of the other pictures that she did for the Black men's magazines being considered with her insurance license. But I don't think, first of all, I don't think that insurance license are revoked for things that you've done in your past. I think that was her way of trying to get sympathy and trying to get all the other girls to, pick her side over Kenya. That's what that was about. It wasn't really about her license being revoked. And is Britt really selling insurance? Is she? I don't know that she's selling insurance. I don't know. I don't know. She may be selling insurance, but this just does not look like somebody that's selling insurance. This looks like somebody that's selling something else. And I don't know. I do not know. But my article, I stand on what I said. Britt Eady is really to blame in her fallout with Kenya Moore on Real Housewives of Atlanta. You can read that entire article via Collider, but because what I'm irritated with, I think a lot of times women come on these shows and they create fake beefs and they try to get sympathy and they try to align the public with them. And it's like, they don't take accountability. Now, Britt did acknowledge she was wrong, but she's still crying and acting like she's so overly hurt because of this, and Kenya is so wrong, and Kenya attacked her for no reason. If you had just left Kenya alone, then we would have no problem, right? But you actually came and said that you had a gun for her. And I think any woman that you say, I probably was just, like anyone you tell you have a gun for, I'm like, and the show does play on this. It loves the drama. It loves to pit, especially Black women, against each other and make us look like idiots. And that's what has happened, right? I definitely wish Kenya wouldn't have taken it that far, but she was probably sick of that, sick of this going back and forth, and all she's doing is, and this woman feels like her character can become popular based on trying to go at someone else, because that's what they all have. Portia, Kelly is trying to go at Portia because Kelly wants to be that chick. Kelly she told her when she sat down at the table, you guys saw Portia called her and she was like, okay, girl, feel better. Just don't take nobody else's man. Like unnecessary. And y'all know I don't support Portia and all her foolishness at all. But for Kelly to say that, it's just unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary. And it's because you think that you can get popular and you can cement your role and get another contract for next season if you go at the women that are already there and you be drama filled, right? And that's the drama. It just is so fake, and it's just, I don't know. We see through it. I just don't feel good about that season. I don't think that Bravo handled it great. And by them saying that they were concerned enough to check on her having a gun means that they know that she said it. And I think that gun violence is just not something that people should play with. You know, that's not, especially in this city that has been really just traumatized with an extraordinary amount of gun violence over the last few years. I just think it was ridiculous. So anyway, before we move forward from Real Housewives of Atlanta, I want to point out something else. I don't know how you guys feel about this ridiculous storyline with Portia and Drew and Dennis. It's interesting that Dennis is involved in a roundabout way with this situation with Britt, by him having asked her out before or having dated Britt at least one time in the past. But the storyline with Drew and Portia, I feel like it's total BS. I just call it BS, totally on Real Housewives of Atlanta this season. It doesn't make any sense. Portia wants Dennis to not film with Drew. It's not that she cares if they do music together. It is she doesn't want him to film with her, which is ridiculous. Drew and Ralph, what did you guys think about that scene with them living in the same house? They live in the same house, and God forbid, I would never want to be in that situation where you are divorcing your significant other, but you both can't afford to move out before the divorce is up, and so you have to live together. That would be a gentle hell. I could not imagine that. So when it's time for Ralph to spend his time with the kids, she packs up and leaves so that he can come upstairs and the kids can have their bedrooms. That's just very weird. Very, very weird. I do remember that Haitian Empress, and I'll go back to that because that hurt me to my soul years ago when that happened to Vanessa Williams. But Dennis and Drew are supposedly doing music together. Drew and Ralph are fighting still. Now, Drew has been called a liar and proven to be a liar on several occasions. She's been caught in several lies. I will admit that. I'm wondering what you guys think of that last little segment when Ralph came upstairs and Drew is trying to make it seem like she pays all the bills. And then Ralph said that he pays all the bills. But then Drew said that Ralph stole a bunch of money out of her bank account. It does not make sense. Their situation, and I don't know who's telling the truth. I think they probably we could split it down the middle. They're probably both lying. To some extent, there's probably the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of their relationship, because that whole scene and Drew acting like she was triggered. I don't want anyone else to be triggered, and no one else should be triggered. Everyone should not be triggered. She act like she just could not take him saying that he paid the bills. Hold on. And then he was acting like she's just such a big liar. I don't know. They are interesting. But I think that Drew should be on a scripted show. I do think Drew should be on a script. I think Drew's a better actress, and she's actually a good singer. She did a good job as T-Boz. I will say that, because you guys know I was right there when they filmed the Crazy Sexy Cool, and I thought she did a great job as T-Boz. Now, I think Little Mama did the best job as Lisa. She was the embodiment of Lisa, but I liked Drew as T-Boz a lot. I really did. And I actually met her sister and actually did some some stuff for them back after meeting them back then, but this is before she married Ralph. But yeah, I don't know that I believe that what she said. I also, like I said, I also don't believe him. I think they both lie. But I think, I was thinking about this with Housewives. I also watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which will the finale of their reunion will be tomorrow night. And the women come on and they have these. They create or curate their stories of what happened to them in their divorce. And I know from being divorced, divorce is very painful. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be on television going through a divorce. But I also know that adds another element to it, right? Because you're trying to win over the court of public opinion in addition to the court, right? You're trying to also, and a lot of times women want to paint themselves as this victim. And sometimes you're not necessarily this big victim. Sometimes you are, but two things can be true. He can be wrong and you can be wrong. But a lot of times it's like they try to take a broad stroke brush and paint over everything and include, make themselves look like, an angel. And I definitely understand that men do some horrible things and women do some horrible things. But I don't know if it's really fair for us to hear from one side and not hear the other side, because ultimately we're going to hear from Drew about this marriage. The same thing with Portia. Portia's telling us a whole bunch of lies about Simon. Did you see when she mentioned that her daughter PJ came in the bed and was like, "Mama, where's Simon?" And as opposed to saying, "Where's Pop Pop?" she said, "Where's Simon?" Well, Portia, you are the one that introduced this child to Simon and had her in the. I mean, it's just a lot of foolishness. And I think that because they are on these reality shows and production allows them to talk about what's their side of the story, it probably comes out very unfair to the other side. But maybe that's what everybody gets for signing up to be on reality television. I mean, I definitely don't feel bad for Simon. I certainly don't feel bad for Simon. And you're right. Her father is Dennis. So why is she crying over Simon? And then Portia's like, and I just thought he would respond. Why would he respond when you have talked about this man's erectile dysfunction? You don't like this man. You thought that you had a payday. The payday wasn't there. And now you're backtracking. And now you want us to feel sorry for you. And I personally do not. I don't. I damn sure don't feel bad for Simon. But Portia, and she will never just say, I would give Portia so much credit if she just would say, you know what, this could be karma. I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should not have started dating that man while he was still married to that woman. Probably should not have. But she won't say that. So I'm not giving her any grace on that. But I just think it's ridiculous how the women try to spin these stories, and we can see through them, as fans. But I guess that's what people tune in for. Drew and Dennis with the bow. Dennis is just hanging on, and I think I would give Dennis credit for this. He's just making the most out of it. Portia has made him look like an idiot, having him smoking cigars with her new dude, having him on a family trip, telling him he couldn't bring a woman because he had to be watching her and her new guy. Of course, he snuck and had a woman, and he's had women this whole time, but I'm sure she has had guys as well. But Dennis said, hey, I'm just here trying to make a check, and I'm going to connect myself to the Real Housewives in some form or fashion, be it making music with Drew, or being an ex-dater of this crazy Brit girl, or whatever I got to do. I'm just trying to keep myself in there so I can keep getting a little bit of a check connected to this show. He's probably not getting a check as a cast member, but he is doing something that he can to keep himself connected to the brand, to keep his name in people's mouths. And so you're right. He's you there, so you got to be pretty lowly made into an idiot by Portia. True. But he definitely is making the most of what he has. They have a child together. I don't understand. I think this is just totally contrived so Portia has some type of beef, because the only beef she has with anyone is Drew. And her saying that you are a low down human being doesn't make any sense, because Drew is filming with Dennis. It just was too much. It's just a little too much 10 on the 2 with that, Portia. So I don't know. I'm not into it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. And I think that this season, like, and maybe all the housewives, I did an article. I think that the whole trope of like the Real Housewives is a little, it may be antiquated at this point, right? Because the idea of a woman that's staying at home and being a housewife to a very wealthy man that is actually wealthy, and she actually lives this, above the brow lifestyle. I don't even know if we see anyone like that besides some of the other franchises. Kandi is not that, because Kandi's no longer on the show, but Kandi was actually working and earning her own bag. She probably had more. She needed to be on the Real House Husbands with Nick Cannon and Mariah and Tisha Campbell and Dwayne. She belonged over there, because she was actually the one with the money, bringing in the money before she got with her husband. Cynthia Bailey is single again, so she's not a housewife. Britt, I don't trust this marriage. I mean, Godspeed, but I just don't trust that. Kelly is divorced, and I do like the fact that her husband had his face, scribbled out. Because otherwise you're going to have, you just, that scene with her and her daughter was freaky as well. It was sad to me, because I thought the daughter said, Mom, I don't want to get married, because what if I end up like you? That's scary. And I don't think that part is sad. I think a lot of us can relate to that. Like I know my daughter probably felt like that when she watched me go through my divorce. But to take your daughter through that on camera and to have that be a part of a storyline, that to me is sad, because the daughter is obviously grappling with seeing her mom be married to this man, and then now the man is no longer around. And the man semi-adopted her. And then now the man she doesn't believe he wants anything to do with her. That's not something that I would subject a 17-year-old to have to deal with on camera. That's a lot. It was really sad. It was almost equally as as unsettling as the conversation that Angela Oakley had with her daughter last week. But seeing that last night, I thought, wow, that's really sad. And also another reason I think these shows suck, because you brought this girl 17 designer bags, but yet she's saying, I don't want to end up like you. That is, you don't even need to say nothing. Like, that's a drop mic moment. Like, you created the own drop mic moment on yourself. I don't know. Hey, you there? I don't know what their actual legal paperwork was like with that, but Kelly said that they have 4 children, but the oldest daughter, Chloe, is not his. So I don't know if he actually did adopt her with paperwork, and if he would need to pay child support for her, because number one, she's 17. So, I mean, he would only have 1 year anyway before she turned 18. But I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll hear more as the season plays out. But I just that's something, and I'm not, the thing with Britt, I think, is foolishness, and it's ridiculous. But it was actually sad to see that the interaction with Kelly and her daughter. I felt like a producer should have been like, no, let's not do this. And then the daughter was like, I don't want to do any more yoga and meditation. She said, I'd rather go to therapy. Either your daughter says, I'd rather go to therapy than do more yoga and meditation. Yikes. One more time. Yikes. That's really sad and does not need to be on television. Like, I thought that needed to be sacred and private. But hey, for reality TV, we're trying to throw it all out there to make sure that we get a spot on television. The daughter has more sense than the mom. And that does happen. I mean, that happens a lot. Sometimes when you're in a hurtful place, your kids are able to see more than you are, but that was unsettling to watch. And I hope that there's somebody looking out, especially for the 17-year-old. The little ones that are a little bit younger, they probably don't understand the heaviness of that. But hearing your 17-year-old say, I don't want to get married because I don't want to end up like you, that would be really scary. It's sad. And it also means she does need therapy so that she can heal, so that she doesn't take that into new relationships, because that is the making of an alpha female. That is the making. I probably should do an article about that. That is the DNA blocks that make an alpha female. Seeing your parent get hurt, or, living through vicariously through your mother's heartbreak, not healing, and taking that with you, and that becomes a toxic handicap that you don't know how to let go of. And it becomes a part of your genetic makeup as a woman, not to trust, to be very standoffish, to be very independent, not want to get hurt. That is how the alpha female is made. So I wish that beautiful girl better. Moving on to Married to Medicine. I did an article, and I don't like to ever say, I think I said this last week, I don't like to say anything negative about marriages, because you guys know I want everyone to be happy and everyone to find love. However, one of the things that I think we can learn as a family from Married to Medicine, specifically women, new wives, of which I am one, right, always tend to feel like they are the difference in their husband. What I mean by that is they always assume that the exes were the problem, right? A lot of times women like to think that when you meet a man and he gives you the sob story about his exes, you believe everything that he says. You think these are some horrible women, or just a woman that just hurt him and she wasn't worth it. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to be the difference. And he just needed a good woman like myself. Women never think, maybe this other woman wasn't as crazy as he wants me to believe. Maybe it's him. Maybe there's another side to this story. And I don't know if that's just human nature, because we want to believe, especially if it's someone that we're really attracted to and we're really excited about. We don't want to think that he might have been the problem and the other woman might have been a good woman and he might have messed that up. And I think that this show is showing us a perfect example of a woman. Sweet Tea comes in, and I definitely have my issues with some of Quad's behavior. But what she said about Dr. G, Sweet Tea is now experiencing in real time. She's experiencing in real time. The controllingness, the fact that he's dismissive to her, the narcissism, she's experiencing it all in real time. So she came in thinking that, taking his side. And I think that's part of the beauty of women, that we're so nurturing and we want to come in and we want to love on this man, and we want to see his side. But I just think that specifically when you come into something with someone who has been in something before, you have to realize that there's another side to that story. And just because you may be with this man does not mean that he might not have been on his best behavior with her. She probably has a side as well. Definitely. In fact, you can bet on that. You can bet on that, because just like we can all be, I am with my husband now, right? He's had exes in his past. I am also someone's ex, right? And I know that the thing that the other women think about me, if they probably got to know me, they probably would think I'm pretty cool. You know what I mean? But hearing it from his perspective, I probably sound like the Wicked Witch of the East. And the same thing with my husband. I'm sure that his exes are not as bad as he says, because they had a very less mature version of him. at that time. And so I think that as women, we need to learn to give each other grace. Now, there's not much you can do with that other woman because you are his future or his present. If you're lucky, you're his future. But just don't always assume that the other woman is this evil person and she's the problem. That happens with a lot of people that have children, and it's like, oh, she's not a good mother. She's not. Like, wait a minute, try to bring in your woman's intuition before you just jump on the bandwagon. And I think a lot of times men pit women against each other, and if we would just use our brain, right? Because every man that I would ever meet, like when I started dating, that would tell me their ex was crazy, I would automatically be like, yeah, this is not. Because if you can't acknowledge that what did you do to make her crazy? What did you do to make her crazy? You did something to make her crazy. Because every time you start to do a little bit of and I'm not saying that there are some women that are crazy. Yes. But guess what? Crazy is as crazy does. And crazy recognizes crazy. So if she was crazy, there was something crazy about him that attracted her in the first place. So it's still something there. So Sweet Tea is now getting a big dose of what Quad dealt with Dr. G. Now, she may be a better fit for him, but his issues, you see him acting a fool, screaming at her, being very dismissive to her, blaming her for everything. All this is stuff that Quad was telling us about quietly, and now we get to see it in living color, right? And so I think the difference with Sweet Tea and Quad, I don't think Sweet Tea is going to deal with that for very long. Like, I think Quad was trying. I think Sweet Tea wants to be on television. We know that because she reached out to someone that was on television. She saw him on television. She slid in his DM and she offered to give him kids. Like, and isn't it so funny that now rumors are saying that Quad is having a baby? It's funny. She didn't want to have a baby with him. She did not want to have a baby with Dr. G. I would say anytime a man, and this is for the men, a few men that watch this channel, if a woman that you're with does not want to have a child with you, you need to be concerned. You need to be concerned. Quad did not want to have a child with Dr. G. How long has she been with this guy, King? And now she wants to have a child with him. I remember she was like, she had other stuff to do. She didn't really want to do that. And now she's having a child with King. You guys remember when Jeannie Mai that was on The Real was married and she did not want to have children? She did not want children. And then she married Jeezy. And before they could get a year out, she was already pregnant and super excited. I think it is a red flag when your woman does not want to have a child with you. Yes, she can have her own priorities, but when a woman is really in love with a man, 9 times out of 10, she wants to have his child. So rumors are saying that Quad is pregnant, or Quad is having a baby. I don't know if it's through a surrogate or what, but that's what a lot of blogs are saying. I will confirm with you guys next week. But I did see that quite a bit today, over the last couple of days, actually. So, and she mentioned that she was trying, but didn't you notice that when she was with Dr. G, she did not want to do that? She had those 2 little puppies and she was not trying to have a baby. You're right. Jeannie Mai's situation didn't turn out like she expected because she liked the idea of Jeezy, but not the reality of him. But she definitely was head over heels with him. And I mean, didn't even think about it. She was with her husband over 10 years and never wanted to have a child. So I'm just going to say note to men. If a woman that you're with does not want to have a child with you, you may want to check your situation. That's probably a good sign that she's just not that into you. She's not that into you. And I think that Quad was not that into Dr. G because she probably liked the idea of him. He's a doctor, he's a psychiatrist here in Atlanta. I think he's he's a good looking guy. I mean, he's cute, kind of, or reasonable. He's not bad looking. But his ways are how he treated Sweet Tea after they left, when they came back, him yelling, him doing that crazy song. him, filing charges on King and talking bad about Quad while they're on a retreat with his new wife. Like, you should be in it with your wife. You shouldn't even be talking about Quad. Like, what is going on with you? And then he is average looking, but he's not offensive. There's a lot of them that are offensive. I'm not going to go into detail, but there are a lot of them that are offensive. He's fair to middling. He's fair to middling. He's not offensive with it. But there are some men, it's like, ugh. Yes, he's a doctor, but ugh. But he's okay looking. I think fit. I could see he's got a little GQ swag that you could fix up with him, but his attitude and his actions show someone that is very controlling and is very narcissistic. And I think that Sweet Tea had egg on her face because she's done all this, her and him against the world. Dr. Heavenly, I would not admit my marriage was in a bad place with Dr. Heavenly either. But she did, like, are you sure? Are you sure? She's way in over her head. And, another thing, he's a lot older. And he basically, I think, got with her because he felt like he could control her. So, yeah. Just note to women, like, just be easy with it. Don't be so quick to jump on and bad talk to other women, because I know, and I think a lot of times that feeds a woman's ego. A lot of times men will talk bad about their exes to make a woman feel good, because that kind of makes you feel like, how much that he likes you. But you should never need to hear another woman talk down in order to feel good about yourself, feel secure in your relationship with your man. Dr. G is he is a psychiatrist, which is very strange. Very strange, but it's not strange because, again, physician, heal thyself. He's a psychiatrist, but I would love to see what he would say to someone that did a song like he did. When Dr. Eugene said, I pray that you don't ever do to me whatever she did to him to make him sing that song. That song was bad. She did believe everything that he said about Quad, but she's not by herself. A lot of women do that. A lot of women believe everything, because I've even seen women say, well, you this and you that and you this. And it's like, girl, you don't even know me. You know what he said. You know what he said about me. You don't know the truth. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to be telling somebody else something bad about you one day. So we need to stop doing that as women. I'm not saying you got to love on the other woman, because I know it feels, unless you feel a little unsafe sometimes, especially if it's someone he's been with for a long time. But just, be realistic and understand there are always 2 sides to every story. There's like his side, her side, and the truth. And 9 times out of 10, a man who won't tell you what he did wrong, but will try to make the woman look like the bad guy, is going to be doing the same thing to you eventually. You will one day be the villain to some other woman. So I know I am a villain, but I'm not really that villain. I'm not a bad person, and I know, how you see one of your ex's women, and you know that they've told them some bad stuff about you, but it's okay. It's okay. But I also try to hold that space, and I've tried to hold that space for my current husband. And when I don't understand a lot of things about his past, but I also know that there was some good to those women, or he would not have been with them, right? And they have their own story. They have their own story about him, and he was not as mature and probably the man that he is with me. And so me feeling like they're the bad person is not the right way to be. It's just not. We all are someone's exes. We all are hopefully someone's future. And it would behoove us as women not to be so quick to want to believe the worst about another sister, because what that does is that leaves us wide open to end up looking like a fool when we end up on the same side that she is later on. And I think that's what we're seeing play out with Sweet Tea and Quad. So in any case, that is my talk for today. I hope you guys will tap in on Wednesday. Ooh, child. Yeah, I don't know. That whole Haitian Empress, you watched the biracial girl. I will put it in this chat. That song is hilarious to me. But you guys tune in. Actually, Mo and I are going to be here on Thursday, not Wednesday. So our core audience, please check in on Thursday. It's already in. You should get a notification about it. We're not going to be here Wednesday. We're going to be here Thursday, and we're going to be talking about romance scams. On Wednesday, I'm going to be sitting down for an in-person conversation with Tashira Simmons, who is the wife of rap legend DMX. We have an interview here on the site. We're going to do one in person. So that will be live on the site on Wednesday night. But Thursday, Mo and I will be back with Dating Diaries, and we're going to talk about romance scams and somebody's son. And then you guys check out Friday, because you guys know what we're going to do Friday. It's all about the Never Ever Mets, which is some foolishness. I've got some more tea on people on the Never Ever Met. So make sure you tune in then. I love you guys for watching. Make sure you leave your XOs in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know what you think about Britt. What do you think about all the tea that we brought tonight? Britt as a penthouse pet with Stevie J. Britt in Black men's magazines, in high school, video vixen in high school. Let me know what you think. Do you think that Kenya was 100% wrong? Do you think that Britt bore some of the wrong in that? Or do you think they both needed to be off the show? What do you think? Let me know. This is Grace and Gossip with your host, Christal XO. I will see you guys right here on Wednesday for a live conversation with Tashira Simmons. And then Mo and I will be back on Thursday with Dating Diaries. All right. You guys have a good one. I hope you're off to a blessed week. We'll talk soon.